for Special Children. How can I help you? He must have went in with his patient already. What number can he reach you back at? Okay, perfect. All right. Okay.
Welcome. I'm glad you could all join us today. I know many of you, but it's been a while. I'm Kevin Strauss. I'm the medical director here at the Clinic for Special Children. I was one of the physicians, along with Dr. Morton, who originally discovered proparin deficiency in your extended family many, many years ago. This is a day where we basically shut down the clinic just for you, and we're devoting all of our effort and all of our energy to doing what we can do to teach you about this condition and help you manage it to keep everybody in your family safe.
It was in the early 1700s that the Amish and Mennonite people migrated to the New World under the advice of William Penn. And so if we take Lancaster County as an example, in Lancaster County there's an estimated 60 to 80,000 Anabaptists living in this county. That group of Anabaptists probably only derived from maybe 200 to 300 survivors of the migration who came to the New World. So all 80,000 people living in this county today have their genes derived from just a very small group of founders. So that's a problem that sets up a community for a high risk of certain genetic disorders.
All right, so we ready for new patients? Yeah? Okay. First one is a sibling pair, an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old Mennonite children from Myerstown. And the 11-year-old has ADHD. The 6-year-old has developmental delay. Reason for indication is we'd like to know if there are any underlying health issues that could be causing delays and behavioral problems that we could find some answers for and know better how to deal with. I also received a phone call from a mother, and it turns out that she has a pretty strong family history of mental illness. She has a brother who's incarcerated, another brother who was asked to leave the Amish community. And she herself reports periods of intense depression, like where she's like, I can't even get out of bed.
I think it's a appropriate case for us.
Right.
I think either Mike Fox or Matt Damsko could see these two sibs.
We test for about 250 different disorders here. And so this is just going to be one of them. We're just going to be testing for a single mutation that we know about in the population. So first thing I want to do is dilute this DNA down. So I'm going to get it down to a standard concentration of 100 nanograms per microliter. Per day, we probably run anywhere from 5 to 10 samples a day, either through direct sequencing or through light scanner assays, which is also called high-resolution melt analysis. So we'll receive a cord blood sample from a child who was born into a family where we know the parents are carriers, and that we'll be testing cord blood on the baby and trying to determine whether the child carries the mutation or not, and whether the child is going to have the disorder or not.
So one of the interesting paradoxes about the Anabaptist communities has been that they, in many apparently cultural and superficial ways, seem to eschew or reject a lot of technological advances. And yet, here we are in this clinic implementing some very cutting-edge medical therapies and utilizing some of the most advanced biomedical technologies available. And the community generally embraces those advances and embraces those technologies. And it's not a paradox if you understand the community's relationship to technology. And that relationship is based on a principle rather than an absolute rejection of technology. The principle is one of interdependence. So these things don't pertain to medical technologies that have life-affirming potential, life-saving potential. And the Amish and Mennonite, just like other reasonable people, place a high value on reducing or eliminating human suffering when possible.
KJ, medicine time. Come here, please. When I was 7 months pregnant with Kennedy, we were experiencing some issues where she wasn't growing appropriately. 1. Good job. 2. Good job. 3. Oh, you got one more here. Good job. Turn this way. 4. Good job. Chew that up. Nice work, girl. And then when she was 8 months old, she had a random seizure. We took her back to Hershey Medical Center, and they wanted to do a brain MRI. And the head of pediatric neurology there came to her dad and I and said that he had never seen a brain look like Kennedy's did. Gentle, just a little bit.
That makes a mess.
So I spoke to our pediatrician, and she had said to me, well, we're running out of options, but there is a small clinic in Strasbourg, which just happens to be about 30 minutes from our home. And she told me about Dr. Kevin Strauss and Dr. Holmes Morton, and said that that they were like metabolic experts, like world-renowned metabolic experts. And she said, I think if anyone can help you, they can. She said, but they generally deal with Amish and Mennonite communities. I don't know if they treat English families.
Okay.
So I had called there and just kind of said, you know, we're an English family, and this is where we've been so far, and no one can figure out what's going on. Could you please take a look at my daughter's medical records? And Dr. Kevin Strauss said, sure. So I had everything sent over to him, and he had called me back and said, I'm pretty sure she has S-adenosyl homocysteine hydrolase deficiency, but I'm going to have to run some tests to be sure. And I had no idea what he had just said, but the fact that he had an idea of what she might have was reassuring.
Come here, girls.
Ooh.
Ow!
So we ran some additional tests, and within 3 weeks, that was what she was diagnosed with. And he told me that she was the 8th case of the disease in the world. So if I'm being completely honest, the first time I turned down their long drive, which is like a farm road, I thought to myself, like, I feel like I'm taking my child to like a witch doctor or something, like, because it was so off the beaten path of what we're used to of regular medicine. But the minute you walk in there, there is just an aura. Like, it's just, you feel something when you walk in that door. Yay! Hey, did you tell Dr. Strauss what today is?
Oh, it's good to see you. Let me guess, it's your wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
What?
You're married?
No.
Wait, don't tell me. It's Halloween.
No.
Don't tell me. It's Christmas.
My
Birthday.
I can wait.
I was right.
Your
It's your birthday.
It is
How old are you?
8.
No. How old are you?
7.
7.
7. How old,
Next
do
year
you,
you'll
how old
be
do you think I am?
8.
I like that answer.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't say 80. Do you think I'm 8? Do you think I might be a little older than 8?
No, 8.
What if I told you I was 49? Would you believe me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Within a month, Dr. Strauss came to us and said that he believed that a liver transplant may cure this disease completely. But he wasn't positive because it had never been done before. So I put out a plea and I just basically explained that Kennedy needed a liver transplant to live, and was there anyone who had O positive blood and would be willing to donate 25% of their liver to save her life. And a man that I went to high school with reached out and said that he had O positive blood and would be willing to get tested. So 2 weeks ago she was hospitalized at Hershey for 3 days with a virus that she needed help getting over. Liver numbers were up. So then when we saw Dr. Kyle on Tuesday, he said, get liver numbers this Tuesday, give her another week to let the virus get out of her system. If they had come down, good. If they're the same or have gone up, we have a biopsy Thursday.
Oh, so you may still have
Yeah.
a biopsy.
Yeah. I had left Kennedy's room briefly to go get something to eat. And I was walking down the hall at the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, and Dr. Kyle held up his laptop and showed me an email that he had just received from Dr. Strauss. And all that it said was, it worked, with a ton of exclamation points. So I broke down into tears right in the hallway of the Children's Hospital that, it had worked and she was gonna be okay. So, yeah.
Here, take these. Okay, that's good. Okay, let's.
This is
Yeah.
This one.
Let's see. What are those?
What's the difference?
Do you like those kinds?
I want 2 more.
All right, I'll show you my favorite ones of the kittens.
And I think it's amazing that there are doctors like Dr. Strauss who dedicate their lives to working with metabolic diseases in the Plain communities. Because like you said, if they didn't do that and the Plain communities weren't willing to share with those doctors, we wouldn't be moving forward in metabolic medicine. Listen, you have to give big hugs.
I want more stickers.
No, that's it. We're
One.
maxed out on
Kennedy,
stickers.
big hugs.
That's as many as I ever gave
Big
anybody.
Oh,
Hey, you guys, we have to do a you have to do a selfie.
Okay,
Okay.
let's go.
Okay, let's
Should we
go.
make a big smile?
Okay. Are we ready? Oh. Kennedy, give Dr. Strauss a kiss on the cheek. Oh, no, go slower. Oh, I think I caught that one. Kind of. Oh, that's a really good one, though.
Oh, that is.
I'm going to send that to you now. See it? Who's that guy? Is that your buddy?
Our work with the plain populations has broad implications beyond these populations. We learn certain principles, ways of thinking, ways of approaching problems that then can be used to give us fresh ideas about how to approach other novel problems. And I think there are many examples of that kind of thing in our practice.
now.